Hi, I'm Amara Wiley, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the idea of as above, so below. So, I'm going to give you a little bit about what I think about the planes of existence and how they relate to the chakras, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about um, why I think that's important. So, stick with me for a little bit. So, this is one reality map. There's lots of different reality maps, but the one we're going to talk about today is how our main seven chakras have a connection to everything that is. So we have seven chakras. It starts with our root, which is at the base of our spine, and that's chakra one. This is just really review. You can skip over it if you already know this. Next is the belly chakra. That's like an inch or two below our belly buttons. The third chakra is our um, solar plexus, and that's right below the rib cage. The heart chakra is the fourth chakra. The throat chakra is the fifth chakra. The third eye is the sixth chakra. And the seventh chakra is our crown at the top of our heads. And there's a lot of different systems that tell different chakras, but for today, we're just going to try to keep it simple. Um, the bottom three chakras, one, two, and three, up to the solar plexus right below the rib cage, have to do with our more physical needs. The heart is the connection between the top chakras and the lower chakras, and the upper chakras have to do with our higher self and our more spiritual sense. So each of these chakras is connected to what I call a plane of existence. And it's important to understand that these planes of existence are not separate. They're all together, all in one location. There, it's not. There's not a geographical location for these planes of existence. They kind of are simultaneously coexisting. So I'm going to put up a little graphic just so people can see what I'm talking about. Um, maybe I need like a tech support person. So anyway, but the the way this works is, yeah, okay, here I can do it. All right, so here is the graphic. Here's our physical body at the center, but remember, all of this is existing all at once. And then there are higher vibrating planes of existence surrounding our body. This makes up our energy body or our aura, and they can be called different things. This particular graphic calls them physical, astral, mental, etheric, like that. So our physical body, that's easy. We know what that is, right? That's the thing that we can feel, that has senses, that if we poke it, it's solid, and that's connected to our root chakra. So when we're talking about our physical body and all of our needs for safety, security, food, sleep, all that kind of stuff has to do with our root chakra at the base of our spine. Um, that's the part that we are generally most aware of, and in my view is the part of us that is actually the least real, the most illusion. um, so then if we are so going outward from that, each chakra, so um, the belly chakra is connected to the, and again it's called different things, but here um, it's called the etheric body. It can also be called the lower astral plane, um, the elemental plane. There's lots of words for it. But basically, this is the part of us that is connected to, um, if you think about the elements like earth, air, fire, water, Um, if you are a Native American follower, you can think about it as like your power animal or your animal totem spirit. This is the realm that has that kind of energy in it. Then the next place up is the astral plane. And the astral plane can also be called the mid-astral plane or the middle world. And this is kind of like our etheric double. It's the place where we are, it's kind of like a shadow of us, or if you see auras, it's probably what you're seeing with the aura. It's the spirit mirroring of our physical body. And this is kind of where, um, like if you sleepwalk, or if you, you know, have an out of body experience, this is kind of what you would experience on that plane of existence. And then the higher astral plane, um, which is also called the mental body or the mental plane, is where, and that's connected. Um, so, right, so that's connected to our heart chakra. And sometimes I have to count while I'm doing this. It's connected to our heart chakra. And this is the place where we might run into ghosts or spirits of our ancestors or our higher self, or some kind of angels. This kind of thing is that's the energy of that area. Um, then you go to the causal plane or the mental causal plane or the spiritual plane. These are some of the names for that space. And that's connected to our throat chakra. And that's the place where you might think of specific deities. Bridget, Kuan Yin, Odin, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, uh, Pan, Aphrodite. That's the kind of energy that is inhabiting that plane of existence. And then the next plane, which this graphic shows as the Buddha body, might also be called the celestial plane or the divine plane. And that's sort of where that would be connected to our third eye. And when you say that you've had a spiritual opening, it's because our third eye opens and you suddenly have spirit vision. Not everybody has spirit vision. That doesn't mean you haven't progressed. Don't worry about that. Because there are different ways of experiencing psychic energy. I'll talk about that in another video. But basically, this is the plane of spirit. It's spirit as all, God in everything. Um, it's where it's differentiated between, it's like Lord and Lady, yin and yang. It's more of a like polarity or duality. It's the Judeo-Christian God, that kind of all. And then the ultimate plane is nirvana. It's all, as in nothing else exists. It's God and it's everything. It's the creative spark. It can be called the cosmic realm, and it's the plane of first light or spirit as one. It's an end of separation. It's the origination of the spark of life. And so that's in this graphic is being called Atma, the higher self. But that's confusing. And that's with the crown chakra, and that's our direct experience of the divine light. So that comes directly into our the top of our head. It's star energy, sun energy, solar energy, sky energy, however you want to think about that. And so that's kind of how I wanted to explain these different parts of the body. So now that I've said that, you can just forget about all that because that doesn't really matter. What I want to talk about is how all of that relates to how we exist on this planet at this time, because most of us are caught up in the dream world of the physical realm. And the physical realm is very convincing, right? Because our five senses, our five physical senses, are completely attuned to seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, all of the stuff, this pillow, my phone, whatever it is, it's a physical object. We're physical objects. That's how we get caught up. But I consider that forgetting who we are, because what the reality of this body is 30 trillion cells that are stuck together with basically energy, with electricity, with molecules of, spinning electrons, neutrons, and protons, with a whole lot of space in it. And if you collapsed a human body into just its matter form, you'd fit like on a it would you'd be like a speck of dust. That's how big you would be. So so all we really are is energy, but we have this idea that we are these solid objects. And the other thing that I think is really amazing is that more than half of our DNA is not human. It's, bacteria, viral, paramecia, like there's all kinds of stuff in our bodies that aren't actually our DNA, our human DNA. So we get to this idea that we are, I am a Mara in this physical plane, and everything that I feel and think and believe is what the reality is. And the reality is that none of that's true. So why I want to talk about the different planes of existence is to kind of give you an idea of how we end up in this heavy plane with our, little thought processes telling us that this is all that's real. So if we go out to the farthest realm of creation, which exists right here in our bodies and in this pillow and, everywhere, because everything is happening all in one physical location, not in, you know, graduating physical locations. We start with the spark, the all, nirvana, and that's the origination of divine light. That's where creation begins. And I, a lot of us who grew up in this culture think of creation as a moment. Even if it's a scientific moment, the Big Bang. It happened millions of years ago. For those of you who have grown up in, one of the book religions, then you probably think of it as, the first 7 days of the world, where God created the planets and the universe. But try for a moment to use this thought experiment that creation continues now, that there has been no end to creation, and that it continues on. It's one thing that's happening all this time. So we can continually have this divine light, this spark of life, this energy that is the moment of creation, the Big Bang, if you will. But it's as if the Big Bang continues and continues and continues, rather than happened and then is over. And we are part of that creation. And I like to think of it as that we are cells of the bigger thing. So just like we have 30 trillion cells in our body, it's kind of like we're one of the cells of creation. Or at least our energy is. I don't know about our body itself, but the energy is. So when something is going to happen, like our bodies, or to be maybe less confusing, a chair, it starts as the spark of life. So if there's an artisan who's about to craft a chair, what happens first is that there is an idea somewhere that something is going to be happening. There's like a um, piece of etheric clay that's starting to take shape out in the middle of a very fast vibration of, um, it's not really time. It's, you know, it's not time, it's not space. We don't really have words for these things. But anyway, and as that then trickles down into reality, into physical reality, it takes form and function. So the chair um, becomes an idea of rest, and then the rest becomes an idea of sitting, and then the sitting becomes an idea of a object to sit on, and then it becomes an idea of the shape and materials of an object to sit on, and then it becomes the function of a chair, and then finally it becomes the physical object, a wooden chair or an armchair or a rocking chair, whatever it has become, based on the original spark and the need. So because we are always functioning here in this physical body, in this physical um, space and time, we get confused about chairness or bodiness. And we think that that is the creation, whereas the creation is really that spark that happened already, or that is vibrating faster, so fast that it's imperceptible, and gives us whatever we are experiencing now. So we can get to a place where we are um, observing or experiencing more of these planes of existence in our real time, the more we become aware that the physical form that we are taking and existing in is really an illusion or a dream, or a metaphor for this idea of rest. So the idea of rest is the reality, and then the chair is the metaphor for that reality. And so our physical bodies are metaphors for the divine light that has become, in my instance, Amara. So the next thing that I want you to sort of think about is, what is the ramification of that for our world? So the more we can become aware of each of these planes of existence, of the bigger picture, so to speak, the more we have the ability to create our physical form, the more that becomes what we would call a miracle, because we have this amazing shaping ability of whatever we are experiencing right now, that is from, you know, our true function of being light and of being creation, tricks and creators. Um, so when we are, you know, moaning and complaining about how our lives are not the way they we would like them to be, part of that is because we have we see the world the way we think it is not the way it should be, the glass half empty, if you will. And because we have created this spark in this way, as creators, our physical object becomes a metaphor for the thing we did not want, because we are not thinking, or we are not creating um, the spark in the way that we want it. This is, I believe, a co creative experience, because I think we are all cells in part of this creation that we can't understand on this physical realm in its entirety. It's not possible. But we can get glimpses of the bigger space the more we exist in the each of the vibratory levels of existence. So when we are in the earth plane in our physical bodies, we can reach for the next place. And this is why people meditate or do spiritual practices. It's so that they can um, quiet the thoughts enough to feel the next space. And when you have practiced, and I mean, this can happen in an instant. It doesn't have to take a lifetime of meditating, you know, an hour a day. It doesn't have to. There are people, there's a great guru who's now passed on beyond the veil, but who he became totally connected to the oneness, to the cosmic realm, to nirvana at age 16. So, like, this can happen like that, but most of us, that doesn't happen that way. It takes some amount of practicing and quieting the mind and allowing the silence, which is the reality, not our spoken words or thoughts. That can help to create reality, but it's really the outcome of the reality more than the intake of the reality. So, if you use this reality map to think, you can bring yourself a little bit outward. And in my teaching about shamanic healing, I have often shared about the lower, middle, and upper worlds. And what I'm really referring to when I talk about that is um, the elemental, astral, and mental plane, which aren't lower, middle, and upper because there is no geographic reality, but it has to do more with how fast they are vibrating. And so the um, kinds of entities that you meet, the energy that you experience on those realms, has a different shape based on um, where you know, what you're experiencing. So I've had various, so I've been practicing doing shamanic journeys for many 25 years or something. Um, and for the last probably over 20 years, I've been doing a practice that's kind of like an indwelling of spirit, and that has to do with communicating with specific deities, with gods and goddesses, where it's I heard somebody explain it as plugging a wire into an old-fashioned switchboard, kind of like you're connecting to that archetypal energy. So you can feel free to check out my messages from the goddess videos, because I share some of that kind of connection through those. And my newest practice has been to experience the world as non-separated. There is only oneness. That everything is part of the same thing. There is no um, separate identity. There is no pillow. There is no Amara. There is no phone. There is no you, or you are me and I am you. Everything is one. So that is my newest practice, and part of the way I've been doing that is um, basically living as though everything I do is a prayer, because the reality is the beingness, that original spark. Um, so the more my doing is about being, the more I am connecting to that space of oneness, of nirvana, of the all. And that here we come to finally, I'm making a point, and that is how miracles happen. Because the more we can exist with this clear understanding that everything is operating on the basis of a divine cosmic plan of which we are a part and which we are parts of the directed thoughts of God, we are able to help create that reality, create that piece of the cosmic plan, the part that we signed up to do in this lifetime by becoming aware of it. And we have some goals, we have, we have some clues and some abilities that many of us have forgotten in this civilization. We all have psychic senses that are correspondent to our physical senses, and I'll talk about that some other time. But and we also can stop thinking about the physical world as the only world, and choose to be the creators, healers, dreamers, lovers, and divine sparks that we were always meant to be. So I hope that this brought some clarity and not more confusion. And I love you. Many blessings. Have a fabulous week.